Do you see Saudi Arabia becoming a sort of similar ally to the United States? Because I certainly, I mean, I'm a big sports fan, and I know Saudi Arabia's sort of monopolising sport. They've just partnered up with Dana White from the UFC, and they pretty much own all the rights to boxing now. I think eventually all the boxing managers will become obsolete, and they'll all answer to Turkey Al Sheikh, who's running the entertainment there. But Saudi Arabia, I could be way off the mark with this, by the way, but I seem to see a lot of collaborations, let's call them, with other countries and Saudi Arabia. Do you see anything materialising there, given their footprint in the Middle East?
So I think what Saudi Arabia has done really well is they've been a close ally of the United States, and they have been a massive geopolitical player in the Middle East for decades without anybody really noticing. If you're from the Middle East, you know that Saudi Arabia is a power player, right? UAE defers to Saudi Arabia. Qatar defers to Saudi Arabia. Bahrain defers. Everybody defers to Saudi Arabia. The conflict in the Middle East is really between Saudi Arabia and Iran. Those are the two power players. Israel's outside of that, right? It's really Sunni Islam versus Shia Islam. That is the major conflict in the Middle East. So the fact that we're just now kind of catching up because of the changes that MBZ is doing throughout, or the prince is doing throughout Saudi Arabia, we're all waking up to the fact that Saudi Arabia has more clout and power than we imagined. As they change their internal policies, as they become more open to foreign travelers, to hospitality, to resorts, et cetera, like that's a good move, in large part because these oil-rich countries are trying to find a way to prepare themselves for the next century. Mm-hmm. They know their oil is going to run out. I think UAE is anticipating that they have about 45 years left of oil. I think Saudi Arabia is anticipating that they have about 70 years worth of oil. Then what? Right? These are multi-billion-dollar oil fields, like huge economies that have developed a social dependence on their crude oil, on their natural resources. If they don't have something planned for the next generation, they're just going to go broke. And they're going to go right back to being Bedouins as fast as they went from being Bedouins to being oil rich. So that's a very long answer to say, I think we will see Saudi Arabia continue to grow in impact and power. I think it's still exploring what it's going to use to be that future wealth. Maybe it's going to be professional athletics. UAE has been exploring AI and robotics. So, but these are both oil-rich Khaliji Arab countries that are trying to build a pathway to future wealth when their oil runs out.
It's not a bad option, sport and entertainment, because I suppose that's going to be around for a long period of time. Sort of going back to Israel now, and we'll kind of step away from the geopolitics discussion. As I see this question, I don't know if it's been put to you before, but I've seen it been put to others, so I kind of want to get your take on it. So obviously Mossad have infiltrated Iran, the nuclear bases, at great precision, you could argue, and everything the stars seem to have aligned for them to do Operation Golden Lion, is that what they called it? How come they missed the boat so much on October 7th with Hamas and Palestine? What's your take? Did they just literally drop the ball, or have they been fixated on bigger operations?
It's my assessment that they dropped the ball. People forget that defending the homeland is very different than executing conflict abroad. Defending the homeland is technically and bureaucratically slow. Consider what happened on October 7th. The border that was under protection, that was ultimately attacked, the actual areas, were under IDF control. So it was the Israeli Defense Force, the military, that was charged with protecting the perimeter. Shin Bet is their internal intelligence wing. Shin Bet's job is to collect intelligence on any sort of threat to the homeland within the homeland. Simultaneously, you have Mossad. Mossad is the external intelligence branch. Their job is to collect intelligence from abroad that has implications on protecting the homeland. In order for an attack like October 7th to happen, either somebody has to make a mistake between those three organizations, or conspiracy has to happen and they have to look the other way why a devastating attack happens. I understand the appeal that most people have to believing it's a conspiracy, but probability wise, somebody just fucked up. Somebody saw something. Somebody saw suspicious activity. They saw practice drills. They saw the lead up of an attack. They escalated up their chain of command, and somewhere up the chain of command, it didn't get relayed, or it didn't get validated, or it got lost in the shuffle. And then an attack happened, and then the only people who could respond to the attack were the IDF, not Mossad, not Shin Bet, right? And then after all the disaster, all the tragedy occurred, which was in a moment, right? After all the tragedy occurred, only then do we start pointing fingers and coming up with reasons that help us justify how this could have possibly happened, right? What people don't consider is the fact that every day since Israel's existence prior to October 7th, nothing like that had happened before. So that doesn't mean they had never tried. It means they were never successful.
CIA believes that all people are born with a spy secret superpower. For some people, that means they can win deals. For others, they can spot liars. Some can even seduce lovers. I built a free 3-minute test to help reveal to you exactly what your secret hidden superpower is. All you have to do is click on the link in the description below, take the test, and start using your spy superpower to stay ahead of 99% of people.
So every day of success that the IDF and Mossad and Shin Bet had to their credit suddenly disappeared because there was one day where something didn't happen right. Something was broken, and that day an attack happened. It is the same story with 9/11. It was very difficult for CIA and FBI and FAA to all cooperate and all share information and all communicate before a terrible, tragic attack happened. It doesn't mean that this was the only time a tragic attack was planned. There were many tragic attacks that got shut down before they ever saw the light of day. But nobody talks about those. What we talk about is when the actual event happens. So I think that we're going to see that they changed some internal processes in Israel. But we're also seeing now that to make up for the loss of face, to make up for the loss of reputation on October 7th, that's why I think we see Mossad so brazen in their unique attacks using the pagers, their attacks with a drone base across the Iranian border, right? Like their constant air incursions, their complete obliteration of Hezbollah and Hamas. Like this is what we're seeing is them trying to both secure their borders, but also save some of that face.